Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. Pretty jacked up. Another Rutgers football player on the show tonight. Can't wait to get into his story. But before I say his name, let me kind of rip off his accolades. Was at Rutgers during the peak time when the team was like top 10 in the country. Team captain in 2008. And what's great about the team captain then is they were selected by the coaches, not by the player. Even though the players is cool, it's when your coaches pick you, then you know you're important. Now, he won a couple of different awards. The Iron Knight Award, awarded for the overall strength, speed, and physical performance of the team member. The Frank Burns Award, presented, for extraordinary mental and physical toughness, which in football, man, that's all you need. He had over 200 career tackles, right? And he played in four bowl games: the Texas Bowl, the International Bowl, the Papa John Bowl, the St. Peter's Bowl, and made it into the NFL undrafted, which is very rare. Undrafted, played for the Chicago Bears, Tennessee Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Welcome to the show, Kevin Malast.
What's up, Jeff? Thanks so much for having me. Really fired up to be here. Appreciate everything you're doing and all the stories that you're telling. So just, grateful to be here and tell my story.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I have to check the number. I think I've had probably all in Rutgers athletes somewhere around 24, 25 of you guys on,
That's
in all
incredible.
different sports. But I mean, I love it. Every time I get a Rutgers guy on here, I'm like jacked up.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm in great company then. That's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, you're a great company. So I have a ton of questions to ask you, Kevin. But before I start that, why don't you just kind of tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of roll from there.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So me personally, I'm from the Jersey Shore. I'm from a town called Manchester Township, went to Manchester High School. I was a three-sport athlete there. I played football, I wrestled, and I played baseball. I had two older brothers who were great athletes too. One ended up playing linebacker at the University of New Hampshire. That's my brother Billy. My middle brother Brian would end up playing running back at VMI, Virginia Military Institute. And then my dad actually played football at Villanova from 70 to
Wow.
73. So come from a family full of football players. I grew up just a real passion of the game. And I just knew, since I was little, the goal was always to play in the NFL one day, and it
Yeah.
seemed far-fetched at that moment. And just put my head down and continue to work. And I found myself at Rutgers, during a very fun time to be there from '05 to 2008. Grateful for all the experiences on the field, but even more grateful for all the experiences off the field and relationships I built along the way, being a part of that program with coaches, teammates, everybody who supports the program, donors. It's a really special community that surrounds Rutgers. So grateful to tap into that and build those relationships that would help me to this day. And then I was able to play 4 years in the NFL, as you mentioned, with the Chicago Bears, Tennessee Titans, and Jacksonville Jaguars, and a crazy experience during that time as well. So I have a lot of really cool memories,
Yeah.
done a lot of really cool stuff, and just crossed paths with so many amazing people along the way. And that's kind of lead me to where I'm at now as the vice president of talent at Legend Agency. And what we are is we're a full service sports marketing representation agency serving in the areas of um, NFL players, coaches, broadcast, and media, and everything regarding the college representation space as well. And
Yeah.
so it's a lot of fun. I get to bring a player's perspective to that business, and I'm having a blast.
And you get to work with athletes all day long,
I do. I do.
you
Get
know?
to work with athletes all day long. And what's really cool about that is me personally, I always enjoy being in a locker room. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy being in a locker room, building relationships with these guys, getting to know perspectives from
Yeah.
all different areas of the country and where they were brought up and what are their passions and what are they interested in. I enjoyed that doing that as a player, right? Because
Yeah.
it allowed me to just play for a teammate a different way. I
Yeah.
always think that the bonds built in those locker rooms
Priceless.
they're priceless and they're reflected on the field too,
Yeah.
and how well you play together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've always appreciated that no matter where I was, no matter where I was standing, whether
Yep.
it be, in Tennessee or Chicago or my time at Rutgers or even in high school too.
Yeah.
And now to be able to do and have these same conversations on this side of the business is even
And
more.
you get paid for it.
And I get paid for it. And even more so, which is really cool, is I do it with the guy that represented me as a player. His name's
Yeah.
Pat Capra.
Pat Capra.
And
Yeah.
me and Pat have a very special relationship, given how he treated me when I was his client, and even
Yeah.
more so my transition when I was done playing football. If anything, we got even closer during that time, which is very rare in this
Yeah.
industry. And then now, I'm able to work with Pat now. So we feel like we're stealing from life right now and everything that we get to do. And again, our natural relationship is very organic and nice
Yeah.
and trickles down into kind of what we do in our work and our business and how we
Yeah.
treat all the relationships that touch Legend Agency.
I mean, I can only imagine the fun you guys are having, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's a blast. It's a
Yeah.
blast. Being on the road and more so like, and what's really cool again is it's just the conversations, and
Yeah.
being on a recruiting call with Pat and getting to know a family, getting to know the talent that we're hopefully getting ready to work with, or talent that we do have, and having conversations in a variety of ways outside, contract, but even outside of contract and things that they like and they're interested in,
Yeah.
and to do that alongside Pat with what I know is a guy who truly cares about
Yeah.
these individuals because I felt that impact, right?
Yeah.
So now I get a cool perspective now to pay that forward, right? So
Yeah.
the impact that he gave me, I get to pay that forward. I'm super lucky and blessed to be able to do that. But I also understand, what that looks like, what
Yeah.
that relationship looks like. So now I get to replicate that in all
Yeah.
other areas of our business.
Now, how long have you guys been together from day one till now?
Well, I think I'm pretty sure I'm approaching 9 years with Pat. Yeah, nine
Just
years.
working with them.
Oh, so nine
How
years.
about all
Yeah,
together?
good call, good call. So, oh my God, this is
Got to be 20,
yeah, yeah, we're approaching something in 2000,
15.
2008, 2009. Yeah, about 15, 16.
That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
All the time.
That-
And the more I
That's
get to know him, the more I appreciate him, if that
yeah.
makes sense. It's not
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
I saw a version of him only as a player that
Yeah.
didn't translate when I was done playing. And then,
Yeah.
or I only saw a version of him as a business guy that didn't translate in other areas.
Yeah.
Everything you see about him is genuine. And that's how he carries, himself in all areas of his life,
Yeah.
even outside of business, family,
Yeah.
friendships. It's
Yeah.
special.
That's cool. So let's bounce around a little bit. All
Yeah.
right. Let's go backwards in time. Now I know when I go too far back, some guys are, oh, I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But recruiting out of high school now, the transfer portal, your one and dones, the money, it's just it's crazy now, right? Let's
It
go
is.
back to when you were coming out of high school. Shiano's ringing your doorbell, right?
Yep.
What was that like? Because he's pretty intense, right? But it's not like it is today. They probably would have came up with a suitcase full of money back then and dropped it on your doorstep and then flew you in a helicopter and said, we're going to sign you and we're going to give you a house and a car and all this stuff. But what was it like when Shiano well, he was in your house, I'm going to guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And how did those conversations go? What was it like being recruited by him? And then was it a stressful situation? Was it like your parents were involved? Was it were you all alone? How did all that go?
That's a great question. So first and foremost, I wish I was that guy that was so highly recruited that would be getting suitcases of money right now in a car. That I was definitely not that guy. I was a two-star guy. I had some offers and interest early. I think a lot of this other sports that I played too, and just as an overall athlete, helped me a little bit and gain some attention. But I was definitely not like that type of upper echelon. My
But you played like that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But me personally, my recruiting process when it comes to Rutgers was it was relatively simple. Again, I had two older brothers who've been through it, so like
Yeah,
my parents knew like the things to identify and look for a program that they wanted their boy to go to, and
yeah,
and to reinforce things that we had at home. So my parents definitely played a huge role in what that decision would end up being. I come from a lot of structure, just how I was as a student athlete throughout, middle school and high school.
yeah,
And I know they wanted a similar structure for me in college. So I knew Coach Shiano and his personality was a really good fit for what
yeah,
they envisioned. And me, I just understood the vision and what he had for the program. I understood what they were building there.
yeah,
And from the way it was trending and the way it looked like I was going to hit it at the right time. And thankfully I did. My freshman year in '05 was Coach Shiano's first bowl game in his tenure as a coach at Rutgers. So a really special season to be a part of. And I played as a true freshman in that year too. And I, you know what? When it comes to my commitment, relatively simple. I committed, I want to say February of my junior year in high school, and I kept
okay,
my commitment all the way through to when I signed. So I shut it down, really early. I just knew that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to put it behind me and go to work to continue to grow,
yeah,
grow as an athlete, to make sure I entered Rutgers University at the best
Yeah.
position possible in my development, and that's kind of how it took off.
So what was it like? You show up as a freshman in what, 2005?
2005. Yep.
These guys are big dudes, right? You show up as an 18-year-old young kid, right? And I'm sure you probably put 20, 30, maybe 40 pounds on by the time you graduated. But what was that like walking in there? And who were some of the biggest guys you saw in that locker room? You're like, holy crap, these guys are monsters.
That's a very good, because people always say, like, what was it like going to the NFL? And I'm like, well, the NFL, like, it's all big guys. You get
Yeah.
great athletes at that level, big guys who can move really
Yep.
well. But to go from high school, especially the high school that I came from at Manchester, I was one of the bigger guys on our team. Like,
Yep.
it wasn't, we didn't have like these huge guys or
Yeah.
whatever. And I played against some great players in high school though, so that helped me prepare a little bit for some players I would see in college.
Yep.
Like, the size difference was just so ridiculous walking into Rutgers.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing these guys. And me, I was at that time, 200. I was like a solid 215-pound kid. Well, maybe a little under because I was a little nervous. I think I lost some weight going into
Yeah.
Rutgers, as far as getting anxious
Yeah.
to report there. But I was a good athlete. I was always a lifter too, so that really helped me in that transition too.
Yeah.
I always lifted weights throughout my entire career. So when I got to Rutgers, and that was obviously a big part of the program,
Yeah.
I was used to that, and being part of that in my own family life. But the size of these guys are ridiculous. I remember seeing William Beckford. We call him Pop, big linebacker. He ended up getting moved to an outside DN edge guy, but
Yeah.
he was absolutely yoked out of his mind. So I remember like walking in and seeing this guy, and actually he did a lifting like seminar on my
Yeah.
official visit. And I remember thinking and looking at like my mom and dad, like, that's a college linebacker. Like, he was just shredded out.
Yeah.
And Pop's still in great shape to this day.
Yeah.
But it's just funny, like, seeing that, and that was like a real, like, okay, welcome to college football moment.
Yeah.
These are the types of bodies that are being developed, and this is what it's looked like, and this is why the weight room is going to have to continue to be an edge, not only for my time in college, but also going into the NFL as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about how big you get, right?
For sure. How
How big
big
you
you
get,
can
how
get,
fast.
how lean you can get, and how
Yeah.
fast you can be.
Yeah. So who were the guys that on the team that became your buddies? Who were the guys that became influences for you while you were there?
Oh, I don't know if we'll have enough time for this podcast to tell you that. I mean, I was so blessed to play with so many
Yeah,
awesome
you were on
teammates.
great teams.
I mean, just great teams, great players, great production. A lot of guys would have NFL careers,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of just great people, and like guys I keep in touch with today who are so super successful.
Yeah.
Some actually became clients,
Yeah.
uh, who are but all super successful in their own right with their
Any of
families.
them in your wedding?
Yeah, oh yeah. So Brian
Yeah.
Leonard was in my wedding,
Yeah.
and Brian Leonard hosted me in my official visit
Oh, did he?
to
Okay.
Rutgers. He's the first guy I met part of the Rutgers program. He was my host on my official visit,
Yeah.
and Brian would become an amazing friend, a mentor to me
Yep.
during my time at Rutgers. And then even when he was in the NFL, he would come back because I was 2 years without Bry at Rutgers too. He would come back and train with me there. And then when I
Yep.
was in the NFL, we would work out together in the off seasons. Again, just great players, people, but you respected them so much as far as their character, their integrity,
Yeah.
and that just created a different type of bond of like wanting to deliver for others besides
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
to me, that's why I say those relationships, they reflect a lot of times the product on the field.
Yeah.
And I think about Devin and Jason McCourty too, like, and their last name and same recruiting class as me as well. So I was always by them in team meetings or locker
Yep.
rooms, in the conversations we have, and just to see like the growth that they've had, all the way back to where we played with each other in the Governor's Bowl, the New Jersey versus New York All-Star game
Yep.
when they were at St. Joe's and I was at Manchester. That was the first time I met those guys.
Yeah. And now they're clients of yours,
And
right?
now they're clients, and I was able to play with Jason again in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So how unique is that? And again, Jamal Westerman, Jeremy Zuta, I
Yeah.
can name Ray Rice, Courtney Green, Tyquan Underwood. I
Yeah.
mean,
Big,
so
these are
many
all
guys.
big names.
Oh, major names. Ryan D'Imperio, Andrew DePaula, who's still
Yeah.
playing with the
Yep.
Minnesota Vikings right now.
He's the
Uh,
long snapper, right?
he's a long snapper. Yeah, and he's
Yep.
got a great story too. And then
Yeah.
Mike Teal, Eric LeGrand, I played
Yep.
with. So like I was just, again, I could sit here, Cordell Young, I could sit here and name like almost
Yeah.
every teammate I've had that I was able to learn from, gain perspective,
Yeah.
and for them to help mold me and the person I
Yeah.
am today. Which again, like That's this type of stuff that you hope
Yeah.
you can identify in your recruiting
Yeah.
process to where now you got paid back down the
Yeah.
line. You know what I mean?
They
And
they
a lot
should
of
make a
times,
Netflix series on it.
oh, no doubt, no doubt. So it's just, yeah, just super, super
Yeah.
blessed, and have those experiences.
Yeah. So then you get voted captain. Tell me what was that like? Have Shiano tap you on the shoulder and say you're the guy.
It's that's one of my favorite things that I was, lucky enough to able to accomplish. Because yes, the coaches do play a role in that, but that team too, they voted on team captains as well. So our
Oh, they,
team,
okay.
so to earn the respect of your colleagues, of the people who are going through what you're going through every
Yeah.
single day, the winter conditioning,
Yeah.
summer training, the workouts, the commitment in the film room, the commitment to be the best you can possibly be as a player, to earn the respect of your teammates. Um, that's just, there's nothing.
How did they tell you? How did you find out? Was it in front of everybody and all went berserk when they named your name, or
You
how'd
know,
that
I,
go?
I I think it was like a team meeting,
Okay.
and Coach Shiano announced it there, and again, like that's just to get that validation. Getting it from a fan, even a family member is cool. Of people
Yeah.
that you respect, but like these are only people, like only this room is going through what you're going through day
Yeah.
to day.
Yeah.
At the end of the
Yeah.
day, like that's
Yeah.
it. So to earn
Yeah.
that and to be told you're doing something that's reflective of the program and reflective of the culture that they want to
Right.
continue to build there,
Right.
especially that at that time where I'm like, previous captains are like Brian Leonard. You know what I mean? I'm like, these are big shoes
Yeah.
to fill as far as building
Right.
a legacy and a tradition around Rutgers, right? You can only hope so. You can only hope the same impact that the upperclassmen had on
Yeah.
me. Again, guys like Anthony Callie, Sam Johnson, all these guys.
And how about Sean Tucker?
Sean, oh my God, Sean Tucker again. Like, so there's so
Yeah.
many names of
I know.
people that were just so great, and I'm so grateful to have like that impacted me.
Yeah.
So, like a guy like Sean too. Like, you want to pass along the same feeling that they gave me.
Yeah.
The feeling of like, okay, here's how it looks here. Here's how you handle yourself, and here's how to get better.
Yeah.
I want to teach that same thing to the younger guys that are coming into
Yeah.
the program because truly, that's how tradition builds.
Yeah.
That's how legacy builds. And
Yeah.
again, like that was just an incredible moment, but I took it very seriously and was lucky to be named captain there.
Well, I don't think there's really any luck in it. I would say hard work finds good luck, you know?
Sure.
So joint suffering. You mentioned it a couple times about the preseason. I don't think the audience fully understands what that's all about. The preseason, the weight room, the locker room, the team meetings, the travel, the hotel. Everybody just sees the games. They just see what goes on in the limelight. Let's talk about what the preseason and Shiano's preseasons are pretty tough, right? Talk about that. Talk about how that brings the guys together and what kind of memories are jumping out at you there.
Well, one thing is what you want to replicate, everything from especially the winter. It starts, that time really starts right after the bowl game, right? You have the bowl game, you get your time off, and you come back and you start getting an idea of what that next season, that next team, and the identity of that next team is going to look like,
Yeah.
right? So, what you try to do during that process outside of the normal football X's and O's and development as an actual player, right? In whatever position you play on the team, you have to identify is what this team looks like in times of adversity and when tough times approach, right? So
Yeah.
you want to replicate anything that could be tough on the field. It's got to be harder than that, right? So the idea of going through a winter conditioning that's extremely tough, a spring ball that could be very challenging, right? And then into a preseason, a training camp, right? That could be very challenging. You want the games to appear like, okay,
Easier.
well, this is nothing that we haven't seen. We're not ready for any of this situation from a game situation, mentally to
Yeah.
approach like again being down, a 14 nothing, whatever that might look like, and how you approach that. And coach, obviously is known for keep chopping, right? So to keep that type of mentality, you have to develop that and to work at that, right? And
Yeah.
the only way you can go through that is in times of adversity and placing the team in those times to see how you
Yeah.
react and get
Yeah.
used to reacting at a high level in those
And
moments.
that's what brings the team closer together. When you guys are going through pain together, it's like you can't explain it, can you?
You really can't. And the thing is like you're going through those moments, right? And that
Yeah,
bonds you together because you're going through it just like the person to your right and left is going through
yeah,
it. So the only way we can help each other out is like, we give time, we give moments of, encouragement,
yeah,
forcing them along, like there's moments too where like guys don't want to do it, right?
yeah,
But then you got to convince them to do it, right? And
yeah,
and that's where the, captain and being
yeah,
upperclassman, like the coaches, they have an idea of culture, right? They
yeah,
have an idea of what the team, but it's on the players to enforce that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I was always surrounded by players that enforced it,
yeah,
right? And so I wanted to make sure I was enforcing it the right way, fairly and with integrity,
yeah,
of course. But so like yeah, that's those super unique moments that
yeah,
only the team knows of what they're going through and what they're getting ready to approach in a season, and understanding that seasons are very tough. They're a grind.
yeah,
And you can go through moments where you lost some games and now you got to come back and have the same type of mentality like you're going to win the next game. And
yeah,
I will say the off seasons teach you to have that mentality, to build, resiliency.
yeah. It's crazy how that works. It's just,
Yes.
it's like I said, you can't put a price on it and you can't explain it. But if you go through it, you get it.
You get it.
Right?
Yeah, it
Right?
lands for sure.
So what tested you the most? Let's just stay in Rutgers for a minute, then we're going to hop to the NFL. But what tested you the most mentally at Rutgers?
Ah, God. Um, I would say, trying to play there, like getting there and trying to find my own spot within the team when I first got there. Just trying to find any way on the field. And that's where that's really where I learned my appreciation for special teams, as a freshman, and just how important that role is. And you see, and that was a big change for me too,
Yeah.
because coming from high school, you appreciated special teams, but not as much as what it means to a game in college football,
Yeah.
right? So what
It could
allowed
change the game.
Oh, it can change the game tremendously, and
Yeah.
especially the way Rutgers approaches special
Yeah.
teams, right? And what Coach Shano believes in the philosophy there. So I understood like quickly as soon as I stepped on campus, like how important that was, and it was a cool way for me to get on the field. So for me, I just tried to put my head down and try to continue to work. I was very low in the depth chart when I got there. I was a little undersized at that point too, and I just kind of wanted to put my head down, go to work, and put myself in position to play, right? So that was showing up every day in practice and eventually earning a role on special teams and playing as a true freshman. So very lucky for that. And it's helped me throughout the rest of my career. I would play special teams during my entire time at Rutgers. Some places, some of this, when they become a starter, they might get pulled off of them. But
Yeah.
me, like I was playing kickoff my senior year. I was on punt block my senior year and punt return. So like I was very involved in that. And then that's helped me even. I'm glad I built that perspective
Yeah.
early, because when I got to the NFL, clearly that would be the way I would get on the field. As
Yeah.
much linebacker and all the tackles I made at Rutgers, from where I was at from a talent standpoint, playing
Yeah.
special teams is what's going to allow me to stay on a team,
Yep.
and survive
Yeah.
my time in the NFL. So I would say that, and then personally, like a battle, just like all these kids in college are all battling circumstances
Yeah.
off the field as well. That's what most fans don't understand is they're still young kids who are going through different things from their own family standpoint, right? And then you see a product on the field, and it's easy to be like, "Oh, this guy, he
Yeah.
missed this pass, or I can't believe he missed this tackle." But like what they're balancing is pretty crazy, as
It's
far as the
incredible.
insane schedules of a student athlete, but
Yeah.
also mentally, and also still trying to mature too and become a man,
Yeah.
or a woman,
Yeah.
depending on what sport we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things like that. And me, I had those challenges. My brother got into a bad car accident my freshman year, where he became a quadriplegic. So like, and he was in a coma during my freshman year as I was playing football. So I was able to learn through that experience, right? And also focus on where my feet were and what I can control the controllable. And going
Yeah.
through that, that allowed me to apply that in so many areas of life,
Yeah.
clearly, but also being a college football player, and to make sure I maximize my experience at Rutgers, make sure I maximize my experience as an NFL player. And
Yeah.
then now I use that perspective of what my brother went through to maximize my experiences as a dad, as a youth football coach, and things like that. So
Yeah.
the college year is tremendous development for me personally, having gone through that with my brother. And then, everything I learned as a player, and also just building a positive relationship at Rutgers would clearly help me in
Yeah.
what I do now in my job and my day to
I mean,
day.
you're always over there,
Yeah.
right? At
Oh,
Rutgers. You're
yeah.
there all the time.
I am. But it's crazy now. Like, even at Rutgers, like, a lot of my teammates, they're now coaches there too.
Yeah.
So you look like Jamal Westerman, Scott Malone,
Got one. Yeah.
Charlie Noonan, who's another great name. Like I
Yeah.
hosted
Yeah.
Charlie when he was coming into the
Oh,
program,
you did?
and now he's a coach there. Damaso Munoz, he's another
Yep.
one. So like these are all like great guys, and it's cool for them to be part of the program now as a
Yeah.
coach because they went through it as a player. So
Yeah.
when they're speaking up, I can imagine like they're not just speaking from like I don't know what you're going through. They're speaking
Right.
from I
Oh,
know
they get it.
exactly what you're going through, been
Yeah.
through it, and here's how to come out successful.
Yeah.
All those guys are all super successful in their own right as
Yeah.
coaches and people and mentors to these young
Yeah.
kids. And yeah, so it's cool for me. I come back as just a former alumni. Like it's cool like to be there. And
Yeah.
now my son's 8 years old. My son Cameron's 8, and he's playing for youth football,
Yeah.
and coaching his youth football team. And he's at an age now where he really is getting a kind of an understanding of like who I was as a player and
Yeah.
what Rutgers was to me, and I get to bring him to games, and that's really cool. That's what's cool about going to Rutgers and living in New Jersey. I can easily
Yeah. Now, do
there.
you get to show them any game film or no?
Yeah, sometimes you know what? Sometimes like they run some of these games back on like the Big Ten Network and like
Yeah.
flashing back games, and I'm like, hey Cam, like here I played in this game, like come take a look, and like
Yeah.
I'll bring him
He's
there.
gotta love that, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's at the era now, like he loves all my like old jerseys and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like he has all my bowl jerseys when I played at
Yeah.
Rutgers, puts them
Yeah.
on, plays around,
Yeah.
so it's
Now, what'd you do with your rings?
you know what? Right now they're currently at my parents' house. Yeah, just hanging
Okay.
out at my parents' house right now. Yeah, yeah. But Cam's gonna love that and stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's what's special. It's like you have all these memories that you went through, but
Yeah.
now you don't. What I didn't plan for in parenthood is to like relive almost all these experience, but now like
Yeah.
through his eyes and to tell him
Yeah.
the stories and get him. To get his perspective going a little
Yeah.
bit as far as, goals that he can have and dreams that he can attain,
Yeah.
and also relationships that he should keep in mind building down the line. Now I
Yeah.
know he's only 8, but like he slowly sees that as I
Yeah.
bring him around Rutgers and my former teammates and how we all interact with one another.
Yeah.
That's what makes that place special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure your son already looks at you like you're Superman, right? But then he sees all this other stuff. He must be like, holy crap, look at all this,
It's
you
cool.
know?
We're at a really cool age for like
Yeah.
really to like understand a lot of that too. And
That's
and my
cool.
daughter's 5 too, and she's getting there too. So it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That's great. So this is gonna be a tough question. Can you put your finger on like just one or two moments at Rutgers that like, wow, that was like my favorite time,
Oh my God, so tough, so tough.
right?
Because you have like I played in '06 Louisville,
Yeah.
right, which obviously is a very memorable game. I played in '07 South Florida, which is
Hmm.
another memorable game. We beat them when
Yeah.
they were 2 in the country. Um, I would say, one cool. I'll tell something that's a little outside the box. Oh, and also in '08 is a unique year, my senior year, because we started off that year 1-5. We were grossly underperforming that year, right? For in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, right? We had a
Yeah.
very special team, a very capable team. We started that year 1-5, and the reason why I like to talk about that year is because we went on to win 7 straight games,
Yeah.
including beating NC State with Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback in the Papa John's Bowl.
I remember that.
Right. So, and we beat, I want to say 2 ranked teams on the way to doing that. I know for a fact Pitt was ranked when we beat them.
Yeah.
So how special is that? Like 1-5, you can imagine like, a little pressure, the media,
Oh yeah.
whatever, like, oh my, like same old Rutgers type of
Yeah.
vibe, like people kind
Yeah.
of, and all we had was each other and a coaching staff that believed in us and, believe in one another. Obviously, we knew what we were capable of. We knew what we could do. And that was it. Like that was it. Like, you had to like jump in the boat there and like
Yeah.
go make the best of this experience in this final run of the game. And to me, I was like, I can't believe as a senior, this is what I'm going out as. I remember I was like very just so frustrated with that. But again, like I said, like the things you learn, like my brother's
Yeah.
situation, what I learned as a player is you control what you can control. You be where your feet are and do the
Yeah.
best you can, right? And wherever that puts you, that puts you. But it makes no point to like worry about, the game 4 games down where I got to go beat UConn now, right? And that's who it was, and that's what UConn changed it. It was a 12-10 game in actually at Rutgers against UConn.
Yeah.
12-10. Our defense actually got a safety in that game, right? That's why it was like a 2-point difference. They hit a field goal. It goes off the field goal post at the end of the
Mm.
game, and that's how we win, right? So that's all we needed. Like just it was
Just win.
like
Just win.
And then from there, our offense started hitting crazy strides and
Yeah.
started putting up ridiculous numbers. I'm talking like even like a 60 plus point game against
Yeah.
Louisville, final game that year. I mean, we started putting it on guys, and then yeah, it was awesome. But I think about that season as like, how cool was that? Like we believed in it, we knew what we were
Yeah.
capable of, and we're faced with a tremendous adversity of like what the rest of that season would look like and
Yeah.
what our legacy and impact was going to leave on,
Yeah.
and we just refused to do that. Everyone bought in, and our
Yeah.
underclassmen did it for the upperclassmen too, which that makes that special too.
Sure.
For
It's like
guys,
you had two seasons, two separate seasons in one.
two separate seasons. Another quick story too is I like to tell is, a personal one with me
Yeah.
is my so a really good friend of mine is Donald Brown, was a running back from the Jersey Shore, right? He
Yeah.
played at Red Bank Catholic. Donnie would end up being a first round tailback out of UConn to the Indianapolis Colts. Right. So I played against Donnie in high school when I was at Manchester, when he was at Red Bank Catholic. I played
Yeah.
against him in college when he was at UConn. And it's unique that he's a running back and I'm a linebacker. So I saw him
You're
playing,
always hitting them.
always hitting him. And then I saw him again in the NFL when he was a Colt and I was a Titan. So it's really cool. I got to play him in all three levels. And even special, like, because we were very close. We would train together in the off season, stuff
Yeah.
like that, back home in the shore. And to compete against him at a high level. And UConn was a very good football team at the time, too. And it was really cool just to go up against him in that standpoint. So I thought that
Now,
was,
do you still talk to him now?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We keep
Yeah.
in touch. We keep in touch
Good.
now. Yeah, yeah. Donnie played about like a 7 year career and
Yeah.
played a little bit with at that time the San Diego Chargers. And yeah, he's doing great.
That's cool. So okay, so now the jump to the NFL. Uh, you're not drafted, which makes it even more difficult than it already is, right? You show up as a free agent. What the hell is that like now? You go from maybe the military side of Schiano and Rutgers, right, to the NFL where it's like everything is just on you.
Yeah, I was kind of like I wasn't like judging the process as much. I was kind of like just appreciating the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't like, look at all these hurdles I got to go through to stick around the NFL. I remember being at Rutgers. When I was at Rutgers, at times I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next after I graduate here. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
I was going to be an NFL player one day. I kind of that was always my dream and goal. But I
Yeah.
also was realistic too. I was like, I don't know if it's going to add up or if I'm going to progress in a certain standpoint. I'm going to do everything I can to do that to make myself the best player possible.
Yeah.
But I was just grateful just to continue to earn moments, right? So like I put my head down, I went to work, just like I started,
Yeah.
when I started getting playing time at Rutgers, I just took that same mentality and brought it to the NFL, right? And I like, and here I am going to the Chicago Bears as a free agent, and in that linebacker room is Brian Urlacher, Lance
Ugh.
Briggs, Pisa Tino Samoa was there at the time, who was a really good player. Tim Shaw, Nick Roach, like some really good player. Like not only our star, Hunter
Yeah.
Hillmeyer, like not only like really good players, but like really just really good backups too. Like it was a heck of
Yeah.
a room, with a great linebacker coach named Bob Babbage, who was a legendary linebacker coach. So it was a really just cool experience. Marcus Freeman was actually a rookie with me,
All right.
who's obviously the head coach of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, a really cool room, very unique. And but I was just grateful for those experiences. So what I want to do is just kind of maximize it as best as possible. Whenever I
Yeah.
was asked to do a rep, I did it at 100%. Just whatever whatever I was asked to do. And
Yeah.
the first thing, my first like big welcome to the NFL moment was outside of OTAs and stuff like that. But then when you put the pads on in training camp, that's where like things are really different. Because you
Oh
don't
yeah.
put the pads on throughout the OTA time, in the mini camp time. You don't
Yeah.
put those on until you start hitting in what you call like 9-on-7 inside run in training camp. And I remember just telling myself, like, if I got to run through this gap, just do it. Like, and if you knock yourself out, that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember just wanting to get downhill and be physical
Yeah.
in this inside run drill just to set the tone to let people
Mhm.
know, what, like I'm not
You're
saying
here to
I'm the
stay.
best linebacker here, but
Yeah.
I'm here to make a point, and I'm going to be physical, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be tough. So like, that's that I was able to do that and kind of open some eyes a little
Yeah.
bit and just kind of stick around. But it was a really cool experience.
So was there any, is it like a major difference from Rutgers, football to the NFL? Is it like a massive jump or is it just like, these guys are good, but they're not a huge difference.
You get a more like refined player, right? You get similar height, weight, and speed a little bit, but a more refined player athletically a little bit. But I will say, this is, and when I played at Rutgers, I played against some elite talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So by the time I got
yeah,
to, like I mean, Kenny Britt was a receiver owner, and Kenny's another
yeah,
relationship will become a good friend of mine, and I became tight with Kenny in Tennessee as well, which is really
yeah,
cool. I got to play with him too. But like Kenny Britt, first round receiver, like we saw him every day in practice. I went against Ray Rice every day in
yeah,
practice. Brian Leonard, I would see,
yeah,
like all these like really good players I would see in practice who would have NFL careers. So I think playing against those players and competing during that time at Rutgers, it helped me make the transition because
yeah,
I was used to a really good player at Rutgers, so it helped me,
yeah, yeah,
go to the NFL, and when that time was ready.
yeah. So what kind of habits did you have to build in the NFL? Anything different from college? Well, there were, hey, you had to bring this to another level to not just to make it, but to stay.
That's a really good question, Jeff, because like what I will say at Rutgers was very good, or in most college programs, they're very good at structuring your time, right? And understanding like and helping them out, the players that are coming in from a time management standpoint. Right. So
Yeah,
everything is pretty much clocked out for you in all parts of the
yeah,
season, in season, off season, the winter conditioning part of it, spring ball and what that looks like and what your
yep,
schedule is, your
yep,
classes, your advisor helping you there, like tutors and things like that. So all of that is extremely helpful throughout that college and navigating that time. But what I will say in the NFL, I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. I got a landline too, and it's related to
I
the
don't
back.
even hear it. We don't even hear it.
So so during that time in the NFL is you got to be accountable now to yourself and your time, like in how you treat your time, right? So in the off season, it's just an off season. You go home and it's like, okay, like what are you going to do to stay ready when you come
Yeah,
back? You don't look like you got worse. If anything, you got better because the competition is just so elite. There's
yeah,
so many players that are even dying to be in your spot, right? So
yeah,
you got to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to be the best player that you can at all times and always stay ready. Right. So I would say just making sure I was holding myself accountable from the training standpoint, how I was eating, how I was treating my body, just to make sure from that time came
yeah,
back when I came back for OTAs and mini camps and things like that and off-season workouts that I was ready to rock. So I would say that from a time management
yeah,
standpoint and also having that self accountability as now being a
yeah.
professional football player.
How much time do you get for the off season?
It depends. You get a good amount. I would say a lot of guys they start you get about 2 or 3 months depending on what program you're going to if they have a new coach,
Yeah,
and what that looks like. But you get about that time. So again, like
that's a lot of time to either be really good or fall really apart.
exactly. And I always look at it too as like there's that we're in a game, and it's nice. It was almost the same thing when I was a youth player too, like when I was a
Yeah,
younger player. As like there's margins that surround us, right? Like
yeah,
you have the game of what it is, right? And you can develop at a certain rate, but you either got to close the gap between you and someone else, or you got to widen that gap. There's no like in the middle of that. Like
yeah,
you're literally living in those margins every day and the details of those margins, right?
yeah,
So what I did is I try to make sure I was closing the gap or widening it from someone else,
yeah,
right? So you try to have that sense of urgency, and it's a good habit to develop it as a young player too, like to any like younger players that are going through it in middle school or high school or even at the
yeah,
youth level. Like some of the stuff that I talk about, I'm starting to like slowly drip into the youth football
yeah,
team that we coach and that we manage.
yeah,
But I would say, just to making sure like you attack those margins and to make sure
yeah,
you tee yourself up to be the best player because there's always someone there. And the numbers, there's so many great players that are out there.
yeah.
There's a
And they
lot of
keep
guys
coming in year after year.
year after year. There's a lot of guys on the street right now that could easily play, but for whatever reason, like they didn't get that opportunity, and
Yeah,
now you have it. So you just want to make sure you don't take
right.
that for granted.
I mean, the NFL, I mean, that's probably, I don't know, it's got to be the toughest major league sport to maintain and stay because it's just so physical.
It is, and that's the biggest point. That's I would say the physicality of the game, right? So injuries are a
Yeah,
natural progression of that, especially as you get older
yeah,
in the game, and things could pop up, and your body doesn't recover at a certain rate
yeah,
or whatever, and every
yeah,
body is different, and
yeah,
how that's being treated. But yeah, I would say the injury. and the
Yeah.
physicality of the game is what, it gives you a little bit of a shelf life there.
Yeah. How about the mental side of the NFL? How do you stay mentally sharp like all the time?
You know what? I would say just staying locked in on your goals and what you want to accomplish, right? And a lot of times that could be the distraction that you're looking for from the other distractions that keep you from not being the best player
Hmm.
that you can possibly be, right? So that's what you should always be focused on. But I will say too, like that's why surrounding yourself with positive influences
Yeah.
that help you be the best individual that you can be on and off the field. Because if you're
Yeah.
not really taking care of yourself off the field too, that a lot of times reflects, the type of
Yeah.
player that you're becoming on the
Yeah.
field or
There's
how
a lot of distractions out there.
exactly. And you don't need that, especially
No.
at those levels in college and the NFL. So that's why it's important to surround yourself with great people who are handling their business and want people that you respect,
Yeah.
which is what I was always, and that's great advice my dad gave to me going to Rutgers. My dad was like, make sure you find guys that you want to emulate and you stick around
Yeah.
those guys because they're going to push you and they'll hold you accountable. Like, so and that's why like Brian Leonard comes into place and me and him
Yeah.
get so tight because like I understood like the credibility Brian had, who he was as a player, who he was as
Yeah.
a leader, and I just gravitated towards that. So where I was just always hanging with him, so
Yeah.
I would hang with him, I would walk with him to class. When we were sitting down, I would sit down and eat with them because again, like you want to be around people that are going to
Yeah.
elevate you and reach the goals that you have for yourself.
What's the saying? You become the average of the 5 or 6 people you hang around,
Exactly.
right?
And that's true. And I was lucky to have that at certain point, a lot of different points in my career. I was able to lean into this amazing relationships. And
Yeah.
I think about a guy like Jason McCourty, who I got to be teammates again with in Tennessee. And Jay was just that perfect guy that I could, talk to about anything on and off the
Yeah.
field, lean into and vent to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he would hold me accountable. He would give me, just good things of motivation.
Yeah.
It's just good to have those people in your life.
Are,
Um,
are those guys as much fun as they look on TV? The
oh,
McCourty brothers?
they the most genuine and real people I think
They're
I've ever.
always smiling, laughing, having a good time.
They what you see on TV is who they are as people too,
That's
which is
great.
really special about them. I've seen those guys and just people pass by, fans come up to them and have general conversation only between them
Yeah.
and another fan. And the way they treat anybody they come across, there's no mistake
Yeah.
why they have the credibility in so many different areas of things that they touch
Yeah.
because of how they treat others.
Are they hard to tell apart or
Not
no?
for me, not for me,
Not for
because
you.
I've been around them so often and so much, so not for me. But I could see why people might have a difficult time.
I wonder if they ever play jokes on people.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I'm quite confident they have. Yep.
So what was the day like when whoever it was in the NFL said it's over?
Yeah, it's a difficult time, and that's a very good question too, because everyone handles that time in a different
Different.
way,
Yep.
right? Just to go back, so me in 2012, I eventually got put on IR towards the end, and that kind of what like allowed me to like not really have that much opportunity after that. I had opportunities to go play in Canada, but I just didn't want to make that move at that point in my
Yeah.
career, given how older I was now, and I just kind of want at that point, that's it comes back to having peace of mind of the process, right? So for
Yeah.
me, it was very difficult not to play football anymore because I did enjoy every aspect of the game. I
Yeah.
enjoyed walking into the film room. I enjoyed the locker room. I enjoyed being on the field, the training sessions, the winter conditionings. I enjoyed the weight room. Like I
Yeah.
enjoyed everything about the game because I was brought up that way, right? And I had a passion for it. But for me, I had peace of mind too. Like for when that time came,
Yeah.
I had no regret. So a lot of times, a lot of guys have a hard time transitioning out of it
Yeah.
because there might be a little of regret in their career, right? And that's just a real scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just, I've seen it, and there's like guys who might, they hold on to it maybe a little too long because they just
Yeah.
maybe they're trying to make up for past time or whatever, But
Right.
me, like I know I did everything I could to maximize my
Yeah.
career, no matter where I was. And I'm
Now,
thankful.
did a doctor tell you were done, or did you like the
No,
injury
no
say,
one
I
told
just
me.
can't do it
I
anymore?
fully recovered from my injury. I felt great. I felt like a peak, but I
Yeah.
just hit a point where like there are so many influx of players coming in year
Yeah.
after year, and I just ran out of that opportunity. And to
Yeah.
me, like I was okay with that because I know I did everything I could with whatever opportunities I was given. I
Yeah.
always made the best of it, right?
Right.
And even more so, I'm thankful for the impact and relationships I was able to have as well,
Yeah.
because that would serve me tremendously, not even realizing it in what I do now for business.
Yeah.
So I think that again, saying in the realm of that, like that peace of mind of feeling good
Yeah.
about what I did for when that time came of difficulty of like not being able to play the game anymore and just find other
Yeah.
ways to compete. That I think that was very helpful. Another major piece of it was I had awesome support around. You know, my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, and we got
Yeah.
engaged soon after I was done playing football. Like I had her to support me along that time. I have
Yeah.
two amazing parents. I have two great older brothers, and then I have a lot of friends too, of
Yeah.
teammates who became friends. So just leaning into all that community,
Yeah.
and then you know, like we were talking about earlier, Pat Capra and his role during my transition and how he made me comfortable, you know, moving on and making introductions and
Yeah.
you know having conversations with like night conversations, just talking about what's next and talking about my traits and how that could be applied. And then that's what's funny is that's what landed Pat into being like everything I'm saying. You'd be great doing this part of the business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that's kind of like how we land into like you know me working with Pat now. It's just
Yeah.
kind of funny how that worked, but it happened through just having conversation and having a relationship with his
Yeah.
clients. And that's what I
Yeah.
appreciate about Pat. And that's what I try to have now with our guys. But again, like having all that support, the peace of mind, um, that's what allowed me to kind of
It
that
sounds like you're very fortunate to have
very
a great group of people around you.
yeah, and that's truly what it was, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And you build those relationships along the
Yeah.
way, and then it pays you back in certain times like
Yeah. So what advice can you give to somebody who's gone through what you've gone through, great college career, made it to the NFL, and now they're transitioning out. As difficult as that is, it sounds like you did a great job transitioning out, but not most guys can't.
that.
You know, what advice can you give to them to make that transition a little smoother?
It's two parts, right? First part is everything that I just explained as far as having the peace of mind of keeping the main thing, right? And
Hmm.
committing to it, right?
Hmm.
Being all in, right? To make sure that you're doing everything you can to be the best player you can be. So when that time does come, right? And it sneaks up on everybody, no matter who you are,
Yeah.
you feel good about it. And now you're ready to put it behind you and go attack what's next and find out what that next impact is going to be for you in your life and next passion that you get to compete in,
Yeah.
right? The other part of it is utilizing that journey, that platform as a springboard to what's next, not a finish line, right? And what I mean by that is build a network for yourself as you're actively going through it. Get to know the people that are touching the programs, no matter where you're at, from high school all the way on through. Hopefully, if you play a professional
Yeah.
sport one day, get to know the people that you're surrounded by, get to know their stories, gain from their perspective and what they go through, and build a bond and build a relationship.
Yeah.
Because along the way, that's going to help serve you for when that time of transition comes to where you're going to lean into these relationships for jobs, roles, opportunities,
Yeah.
again, perspectives on business. And it's going to be very helpful for you to be then distracted from not being a player anymore to now, and you turn from that to like super excited for what's
Yeah.
next. So you know, I always say like, you know, get to know like if you're like let's just say you're a current linebacker at Notre Dame, let's say, like what an amazing alumni you have that's attached
Oh
to
yeah.
your name. You can, if you're a current linebacker there, I guarantee you can reach out to anybody on LinkedIn and they'd be happy to have a conversation
Oh
with
my God. Yeah.
about their business and what made them successful.
Yeah.
Utilize it. You know, and
Yep.
when you have the off time, I know the season's the one thing, but you find times to incorporate that into your day to day and to maximize your time as a current player, and no matter where you're standing,
Yeah.
right? And like even me, like in Tennessee when I went on IR, I was never in a rush to get out of the facility to get back home, you know, or whatever, and just hang out. Like
Yeah.
I would linger around the facility. I would hang out. I would get to know the strength coach and like and hang out with them. I would grab
Yeah.
me. I was grabbing extra lifts for sure. Like I just loved like to be in the weight room. I was always like
Yeah.
gravitated towards being in the weight room, complete meathead. But I would talk to scouts in our program. I would sit down at lunch with them and talk about their jobs, their roles, their day to day, and build relationships. And now there's scouts from my past, or even GAs at Rutgers when I played there, that are very successful as a coach or in any some sort of scouting department.
Yeah.
I can now still lean into because I built a relationship with them along the way,
Yeah.
right? So, but that takes you got to be diligent in that.
Yeah.
You got to be intentional, So, you got all these people that support these college programs that pull up to practice and they want to support the players and they cheer for you on Saturdays. And
Yeah.
when they come to practice, when you're done wrapped up practice, go over there and shake their hand, introduce
Yeah.
yourself, and say, hey, thanks so much for coming, pulling up the practice. Appreciate all your support.
Yeah.
Is there anything I could ever do for you? This and that, talk to maybe they got some family there, engage and build a relationship because a lot of times people remember that, like
Yeah. And you never know who you're talking to.
never know. A lot of
Yeah.
guys that I did do that with while I was a player there, I still see all the time around Rutgers,
Yeah. That's
and I
good.
have great conversations with them. It's really cool. I introduced my son to him, so it's,
Yeah.
it's really special. So
Well, you're like a celebrity there.
yeah, again, yeah, you get it, Jeff. Just trying to treat people the way
Yeah.
you would want to be treated. Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. So you get out of the NFL, you spend some time with Insperity, right?
yeah,
And then you and I met, remember that time for coffee years ago?
yes,
And we're
absolutely.
chit-chatting, and I was trying to twist your arm to come work with me, and but then you found Pat,
Yeah,
right? Talk about that. I mean, because I think, like you were saying before we even turned this on, like that's a special relationship.
yeah,
And, talk about how that started, you were a client, and he said, "Hey, let's work together." How did that go? And then you were at Malka, right?
yeah,
And then you go from Malka to Legend,
yeah,
which is you guys, your own thing, right? And
exactly.
like that's risky,
Yep.
So just talk about that whole story, man, because it's something that is like you don't find it too often.
No, you don't. It's very special and it's very unique. So my relationship with Pat, it just started, how he treated me as a player. And I say it all the time is like when I was going through the process, there's a lot of like parts of the business that it's hard to understand sometimes, and you're kind of navigating, you're a little unsure.
Yeah,
But I know as a player, it was helpful for Pat to always educate me along the way. So I felt confident about what was going on, and what I was doing and what I needed to do too.
yeah,
Like also got very good feedback in certain areas. Like if I got cut by a team, well, here's what they thought of you and to have those very difficult conversations. And the only way you can have those difficult conversations is if you have a relationship with the
yeah,
person you're getting ready to have that difficult conversation with, right? So Pat always did an amazing job building a relationship with me, educating me along the way, and also to create impact on and off the field. Like Pat,
yeah,
I always say like Pat was always out in front of that new age modern athlete era now of like
yeah,
doing a lot of different things outside of a contract, right? Pat was out in front of that way earlier before it became popular and
yeah,
cool on social media, right? But because Pat generally believed in that. He believed
yeah,
in to build a relationship and to serve others, not only just what they're doing on the field, because he wants them to see impact off the field as well,
yeah,
right? Because he knows ultimately that's what's going to tee them up for success later on.
right,
And so Pat's done a lot of stuff for me as a player, and that's where I realized Pat was special. I mean, even
yeah,
we had a and just to go back to my brother real quick, who's doing great by the way, awesome perspective. He's killing it now. He's a quadriplegic, but
yeah.
crushes it in the day to day, and his mentality is just so special and gives me
Right.
ultimate perspective.
Yeah, he used to be a police officer too, or no?
He got hurt on the job as a New
Yeah,
Jersey state trooper.
right.
But what was really cool about Pat is what Pat wanted to do is he wanted to have an event around my brother for the spinal cord research project and to raise awareness around spinal cord research.
Yeah,
Right. So to me, that's what I understood about Pat and how special he was as far as what he thinks is important for any guy that
yeah,
he's dealing with. And he
yeah,
knows his situation. He knows the things that I want to be attached to and the things that mean a lot to me.
yeah.
So that was like a look into Pat. It was like a little special and something a little different that a lot of other agents, I think, probably don't have those type of conversations.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I
did he used to
realized that.
say, "Hey, you're going to work for me one day," or no?
So we kind of just built like a friendship, I would say,
Yeah,
over the years of like just really enjoying like talking to each other and we could talk
yeah,
about I mean I could call Pat right now. We could
yeah,
go from literally a half hour straight of business to something extremely casual right
yeah,
in a transition that's
yeah,
natural. But during my and I'm glad you brought up Insperity, Jeff. Like that's an interesting part of my story because and I don't really talk about it I think as enough as I should.
You were there like 3 years, right?
I was there for 3 years. I grinded
Yeah,
out. It was a job I just attacked out of football. It was extremely out of my comfort zone. Knew nothing about HR, nothing
yeah,
about sales. but I knew I had all these relationships, but I had to figure out a way to redefine myself as a business person. So I'm thankful for that job. And that's what I tell a lot of
Yeah.
younger guys now, or younger women or professionals that want to get into space. And what I'm doing now is
Yeah.
you might have to work a job to just build other attributes about
You
yourself.
have to refine your skills. Yeah.
Exactly. And like I had to learn how to like, write proper emails, following up, understanding a sales cycle. I didn't even know how to send a calendar invite then. You know what I mean? So like I had to
Yeah.
learn like things like
You
that.
never had
I went
to.
from I went from literally running downfield on a kickoff to wearing a shirt and tie and like
Yeah.
talking. So
Yeah.
like that's like the coming out of your comfort zone, like that was it. Like I was
Right.
doing it.
Right.
And I found success doing that. But through that, and that's when Pat was like, you know what? You check the box on like everything that we want our
Yeah.
players to approach, the mentality, things that you care about, and you know the business well enough. And truly, like Pat, this is Pat's baby now.
Yeah.
He couldn't just bring anybody in that he didn't feel was an extension of himself, which is why like I'm super grateful that he took
Yeah.
that chance on me. And
Right.
so I try to pay it forward and just kind of what I'm doing now in my day to day and how I treat the business and
Yeah.
understanding like this is what Pat's vision was,
Yeah.
right? And I'm grateful for that and how it impacted me. So now I get to pay it forward.
Yeah.
But Pat, yeah, brought me on, and then we have him look back and develop just some amazing relationships in the space. And again, things that we believe in.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of really cool stuff. And there's a lot of really cool case studies across all of the athletes that we work with from a
Yeah.
variety of players in different standpoints in their career, too.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, if you're working with us, you deserve that attention and detail for us to help you in any kind of way that you see fit, or for
Yeah.
us to get creative and find ways to help you.
Yeah. So what do you think the biggest thing you learned from Pat so far?
Oh my God, that's a tough question.
Because he's going to be listening. You know that.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
That's
I
why I
would
asked it.
say the biggest thing I've learned from Pat is I would say the just overall in how you treat the relationship and always being a good partner in whatever
Yeah.
you're right. So even if it's going through a negotiation of some sort, always come at it with respect and find common ground and make sure that you're trying to add value in a 360-degree way.
Yeah.
So I always think Pat is very good that way. He's a very good temperament. He's very calm. And I always appreciate that because me, I'm a little fire. I'm, as you know, Jeff,
Yeah.
I'm a little like,
You get all
fired up.
jacked up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, middle drill, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like Pat, I look at Pat and like, just trust the process, right? And be diligent in all your relationships and just try to treat people fairly and
Yeah.
understanding like in this business, especially in what I'm doing now, is a lot of things have a way of coming back. You know what I mean? Like you could
Yeah.
work with someone over here and that person now is over there
Yeah.
and you're still working with them. So understand that part and make sure you're treating people
Like
fairly.
don't burn a bridge, whatever you do.
Exactly. And that's something Pat has always done very well throughout his career.
Yeah.
And Pat's got relationships that he leans into that he's known for like 25 years.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's special. Like he can literally call someone who's at this role now who is like his buddy like back then. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's so good at like retaining that relationship
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tapping into it. But again, also coming from a place of adding value. I'm not
Yeah.
here just to take. I'm not here just to be greedy or whatever. What can I do to make you feel good about
Yeah.
what we got going on now too, in building a relationship?
Yeah.
And that's something I try to apply every day.
That's cool. So what is your role and your responsibility for the company now?
So, through the transition to Legend, I became a partner, which again, I'm just super blessed to, have Pat and our other partners, a guy named Ari Nissim, who's an excellent
Yeah.
dude with an excellent background. I'm super honored to like be
So it's
Sam.
just the three of you guys now. That's it.
Yeah, well,
As partners.
we have other employees, but as partners,
Yeah.
yes. So the three of us, and I'm just between the three perspectives. Like Ari came from a front office background, and then he's jumped to the agency side, so he gets it from both sides of the spectrum, which
Hmm.
is really, awesome. And then Pat, everything that he's been through, me, being a former player and having that perspective, three unique perspectives that I think add a lot of value to a
Yeah.
lot of the clients that we deal with. So again, extremely lucky that they were able to bet on me and kind of what I do and what they lean on me for. But I'm the vice president of talent. So basically, I manage all of our talent relationships. I like to look at myself as an internal accountability partner, right? So if we promise something in a pitch or there's something that we need to get done for a client, I kind of, make sure it gets moved along,
Yeah.
communicate on their behalf. So anything that touches the client to
Yeah.
help manage them and put their best foot forward, that's what I'm here to
So
do.
you're like the big relationship maker.
Relationships is a big part of our business,
Yeah,
right? So to make sure I'm delivering on those
yeah,
relationships, is the most important part. And there's a lot of really good guys out there, but like
yeah,
I want to try to be a good guy with
yeah,
character, but also that adds value, right? And,
yeah,
and to deliver what
right,
we think the service model is
yeah.
and how it represents with
And there's
us.
a lot of bad guys out there too in that business, right? There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
guys taking advantage of young people,
yeah.
and when they
Let's
come,
just yeah. Let's just say there's. I'll put it like this: there's people out there in the business who have different motivations.
yeah, that's a good point.
I'll put it like that.
Good way to put it. I mean, this industry needs more guys like you and Pat.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
You
Thank
know, so where's it going? We talked about like where you were, we kind of where you're like, where's the business going? If you could fast forward 3, 4, 5 years, what's going on with you guys?
I would say it's just continue to scale our very vision of what we do now. It's to continue to find the next talent that we think would be an amazing player on and off the field, the next coach who's like up and coming, who's going to
Yeah,
continue to crush it. And that could be in any sport, the next broadcaster media member, or the next, superstar high school/college player to start working with and help them,
yeah,
in their business that surrounds their journey. So I would say it's to keep delivering in the current relationships that we have because the people
yeah,
that bet on us, we want to make sure that they're very happy they did that,
yeah,
and that's the most important part because that truly becomes the product of what we are and what we're all about.
yeah, yeah,
And then continue to just to do that day in and day out and to find, the next talent, the next relationship to
yeah,
kind of build with. And that's truly what's so great about what we're
yeah.
doing. So I would say continue to scale out exactly what we're doing.
Okay. So what does an ideal client look like for you guys? Like if you say that's the kind of guy or that's the kind of girl we want, what do they look like? What are they doing?
So I will say, like, obviously, you got to be talented, right? So
Yeah,
whatever that area of business is, you got to be talented in that area,
yeah,
right? So, like, obviously, if you're, if we're signing you, hopefully to become an NFL player, it's because we're betting on you and who you are and how you project as a player
right.
going into the NFL, right? And then your longevity in that space too, right? So that's one piece. So obviously, that's like probably a serious box you got to check
Sure.
off, right? And then the other piece of that is like they're evaluating us as an agency. A lot of times we're evaluating them too as people, right?
Yeah,
So you can get an idea of like the person you're getting involved with and how much they might appreciate your service. Like there's a lot of things that we do that sometimes people might not think they need or appreciate as much when you're having a recruiting call on it. Which is why a lot of times we like to talk to the families,
yeah,
the parents, because they have just a different perspective, is on life and what's
yeah,
important, right? So yeah, we're trying to evaluate who they are as people because a lot of times that will reflect on the type of player they become, how
yeah,
long they stick around,
yeah,
right? And also the things that they're interested in, and where we can help and be an extreme help in all things off the field or out of the arena as well.
yeah,
So that's the type of person, but the same stuff that a lot of people value, value character,
yeah,
integrity, trustworthy, hardworking, like a lot of those things that come out naturally in conversation. So
yeah.
like, those are the things that, we're looking for in any client.
Cool. So what advice can you give to a young guy or girl who's like, man, I want to do what Kevin does?
I would say continue to build relationships,
Yeah,
right? It's hard to break in this space, right? So understand you're going to need a background or maybe a network to leverage into the space.
yeah,
Right. So proactively start building a Rolodex of, brand partners, inroads to brands, people who know other people who know brands,
yeah,
or talent, any inroads to talent, develop relationships with trainers that could potentially connect you with talent. Start getting to know high school coaches because they all have talented players who are all going to
yeah,
need, a negotiation at some point, enter in a P4, so like just continue to build relationships and stay very active in that space now for when that time comes to say, hey, why should I consider you as an employee here? And they say, well, these are the relationships that I have, and
yeah,
here's the ones I'm able to build, and here's where I see, this could help this part of your business.
yeah,
So be very cognizant of that early because
yeah,
a lot of times people start that too late. It's just harder to kind of build that momentum
yeah.
and to match your timing that you have
Mhm.
getting into the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And also continue to get educated on the space. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
How the portal works, good brand partners and what that looks like, and how you attach an athlete to to a brand and what's a good
Yeah.
proper scope of work in return for, like all the things that surround the deal making and
Yeah.
that just continue to learn from other people and listen to interviews like this, right? And build your own perspective.
Yeah.
So you can gain from that moving forward, and then you can
Right.
add value to your next
Yeah.
conversation.
Now, I know you guys are always looking for new clients. Are you guys expanding as a company too?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. We're open for business as far as bringing new people on that we think
Yeah.
could add value and also
Yeah.
reflect the same mindset that we have and how we deliver for any client we deal with.
Cool. I mean, it's got to be a lot of fun what you guys are doing.
It's fun. It's fun. But I will
Does it
say,
feel like work or no?
it, honestly, I'm just so I'm so grateful given
Yeah.
again what I get to do,
Yeah.
and the people I get to do it with, right? So
Right.
to me, that's what makes it special.
Right.
Now, there's probably people in similar roles maybe who aren't having as much fun because maybe they don't believe in the philosophy they have as a business,
Okay.
how to treat other people, or
Yeah.
maybe the product doesn't really reflect what they believe in a representation to be.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is I'm aligned with Ari and Pat who firmly believe in that. So
Yeah.
like that makes me feel good about presenting what we're doing. In any
Yeah.
conversation I'm having, I'm telling you, like as excited as you see me now,
Yeah.
I'm like this on every single conversation talking
Yeah.
about
That's
it
great.
because I believe in it and I believe
Yeah.
in the people I'm doing it with
Yeah.
and the people I get to do it for.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what gives me the motivation every
Yeah.
day to wake up and just get so excited about it. So
It's
yeah,
like running down on a kickoff.
it's exactly. It's incredible. So
And
yeah,
what it's cool is I guarantee that whoever you're talking to, if they're clients of yours, you're trying to bring them on as a client, they can feel the honesty coming out of you. They can feel the genuine truth coming out of you.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Chef. Yeah,
That's
that
big.
means a lot. Well, that's obviously that's how you want to land with people. So
Yeah,
I hope that's the case.
that's big. So, how old are you now?
39,
39. The big one's coming up. When's the big one?
June 6th.
Oh, June 6th. So you got some time.
Yeah, I got some
So you
time.
got a long way in front of you yet. You have so much more stuff to do and to accomplish. In my eyes, you're still a super young guy, right? But there's going to come a day when people look back and say, Kevin Malast, hmm, when that name pops up, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered when they hear your name?
That's a good question. I try not to judge in the moment too much as far as, but I would like to think that people, I just want to have an impact that a lot of people that I've come across had on me. So I think about the parents that I have. I want to be that parent. You know,
Mm,
uh, the coaches that I have. I want to be that coach now.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to be thought of in that regard. Like my parents are amazing people. And how they've impacted me. I want that same impact, and my wife feels the same way that they've had on us. So again, I
yeah,
just want to pay it forward with all the
yeah,
blessings that I was given, and all the relationships that came my way. I just want to have that same bond, that same in whatever way that relationship looks like. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Could it be
yeah.
player to coach or to client or whatever? I just want to make sure I pay all that forward. And if I'm able to do that because I'm so grateful, I'm hoping on the other end of that will be gratitude as well, right? That's the point, and I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's
it's happening already.
yeah,
When your name comes up in conversation, it's always something positive.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Which is good it's good to know when your name comes up when you're not around and people talk positively about you. That means you're doing a good job.
yeah, absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. And I tried to, like same thing. Like I know, like I'm trying to teach my son and my daughter
yeah,
now, like, and I felt that way with my parents. Like my parents did all this hard work to put together this amazing life for me and my brothers. Like
yeah,
I want to make sure I reflect them appropriately,
yeah,
right? So that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to build that bond, that perspective, that relationship with my kids, to where they
that's right.
reflect me appropriately. You know what I mean? So like
That's
again, and
awesome.
that's to me, if you put your head down and like
Yeah,
that's the true impact that we can all be a part of,
yeah,
in our day to day, is that impact's happening right in front of our faces in all
yeah,
the relationships that we have.
yeah. Put your head down and do your job.
Exactly.
That's it. So, Kevin, we talked about a ton of stuff. high school, coming out of high school, going to college, in college, out of college, NFL work, where you're at now, where you're going. Is there anything we didn't touch on you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
Me personally, I'm all set. I think this has been a great interview, Jeff. And again, I really appreciate everything that you bring to the table and how you build a relationship personally and how you make others feel. The storytelling that you're doing is incredible. It gives amazing perspective to others who might be going through similar scenarios that now they can learn and gain from and be better
Yeah.
from. And to me, that's amazing work. And just really happy to be on the show. And thanks so much for having me on it. It means a lot. So thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate you, man.
Well, I'm glad to have you, and it's fun to have another Rutgers guy on, and the stories that you guys tell are just, they're all great. I haven't heard one person come on who's had a bad story about playing at Rutgers or being part of that school. You guys are all, very fortunate to be attached to that, and it had to be a lot of fun being there, I'll tell you, you know. But thanks
Truly.
for being on. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see all the bigger things you're going to be doing, and I watch, I see what you're doing, and I follow everything along, and I just can't wait to see the next thing.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Thank you
You know,
so much.
so how I always end all the shows saying, "Hey, stay strong."
I love it. Will do.